Hi, I'm Jupiter Darkling and I'm here with Crisis Darkling, and today we're going to talk about long distance relationships. So, if you haven't listened to any of our previous podcasts, we are in a long distance relationship, and we've been together for 2.5 years now. We are going to talk about how it affects our daily life, the struggles we face when it comes to being a couple in our rights, and all the pros that come with it, because a lot of people might think that the long distance thing cannot be done or ends eventually, but we're actually getting married this year. So, yes, it can be done, but it's hard. But oh, so worth it. So, there's a stigma on long distance relationships. I remember when I went to my old internship and for a day with my fiance, and one of my old fellow interns works there now full time. And she asked about us, and because obviously Rich speaks English and I speak Dutch. And she said, "How does that work, and how did it came to be?" So I explained to her, well, we're in a long distance relationship. And her reaction was, "Oh, well, if that works for you." And that's automatically, you can just tell that they would never engage in it because they cannot have this love for someone who lives far away. And we're going to cover quite a bit about this topic because we have a lot of struggles when it comes to a long distance relationship. And I don't mean in our relationship wise, because that's perfect. I mean our rights to living together, our rights to get married, our rights of travel. Those struggles, that's what I'm talking about. So we've been traveling for 2 years now, back and forth to England and the Netherlands. And it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing to get to do that. But the downside is, Rich only has 3 months in the Netherlands. And I used to have 6 months in the UK. But now with the new ETA rules, I had to apply for an ETA. And I'm allowed to stay 6 months at a time. Up to 2 years, because that's when the ETA expires. I can't stay 6 months at a time, sadly. Wish I could. But it's nice knowing that there's more time for me to spend in England with my fiance. And what really, really, really sucks is that we were supposed to get married in November 2024. But there were so many laws, so many rules, and every time we thought we were making progress towards our wedding, towards booking it, then it turned out that we had to do something else. New paperwork, we needed a this and needed a that. And just got put off and put off and put off, and now our wedding is scheduled for November 2025. But we still need to see if that's possible, because I need to hand in forms. Like Rich's original birth certificate, form of non-impediment, and a copy of his passport. And it's all fun and games until you realize that instances in the Netherlands have been telling half-truths to me. They told me I didn't need to legalize the forms because it's from the UK, so it's legal to use in the Netherlands. Once I made the appointment to hand the forms in, they said to me, well, basically, you're lying because you have to legalize them. So then we had to put things on the back burner again and had to get them legalized in London, had them sent back. And now I made a new appointment to hand them in again. And then we have to see if November is even possible, because it takes them about 4 weeks to approve of the forms. And you get an answer whether they approve it or not. And if they approve it, then I can say to us, yeah, well, November we can do because it's a bit too short term. Or they say November is perfectly fine because it's so many months ahead, we can do that. So there's so many different things that dictate our life right now. Same with living together. We obviously want to live together as soon as possible, but the income requirements are just insane. In the UK, you need to have, how much was it? 29,000 a year.
Yeah, over 29,000 something.
Yeah, as an income, that's the income threshold. We don't make that amount of money because we're self-employed. We're small businesses, so we don't even come close to that. So you get rejected on those grounds. But Rich is also a carer for his grandmother, which makes him someone who gets carer's benefits, carer's allowance. But they say you don't need to meet the threshold income when you're on those benefits. But then they look at your savings and whether you can support yourself. So then it becomes a problem because you don't have enough savings. So you can support yourself, so they can still deny you on those grounds. And in the Netherlands, I need to make 2,000 something a month so we can live together. Unless I get special benefits, which I'm fighting for right now. Because I'm too ill to work, I got a lot of health problems, a lot of mental health problems. And I'm entitled to it. Everyone says so, but of course the government makes the final decision, and if they think you're not entitled to it, well, tough luck then. So, if I get those benefits, then Rich can come live with me in the Netherlands. But if I don't get those benefits, we're basically stuck. And on top of that, they look at your past 3 years of income. So, even though I didn't make those 2,000 something back then, but I would be making it now, doesn't make a difference. You haven't been making it for the last 3 years, so, you still get penalized for it. You still get a no for the permit. And it's really stressful, these things. It is a big struggle. It is really hard. And it is mentally draining because you're so in love, you're so happy, and you just want to spend every waking day with your partner. But governments are ruling everything. They're dictating everything. And it's tiring because you feel like you're constantly fighting a losing battle. We even looked at Ireland to live there. Because they have more lenient rules when it comes to people from the EU and from the UK. So that would have been a perfect opportunity for us. But their income requirements are even more strict. You need about 50,000 a year of an income as a single person, and 100,000 a year if you're a couple. Who makes that? Who makes that amount of money? Let's be honest, no one does. It is insanely rare.
So, when we looked at Ireland, again, it's it was a lot more freedom, living there, because it was, it seemed like a loophole when we researched it and we looked into it, and Ireland seemed like a possibility. Then, of course, there's the money that you've got to be earning, and plus as well, in Britain as well, they've changed it from assets. You could have assets of whatever amount,
yeah.
And they changed it from something like 18,000 or something, or yeah. 16,000 or 16,000. But that could be assets, or it was 16,000 in wages. Was it something?
Savings.
Savings, yeah. 16,000 in savings or assets. They've changed it now to
savings.
Just savings. So they've scrapped the assets. But a lot of things, what these the current Labour government are doing now, they're doing a lot of things with farmers and stuff. They're taxing people on their assets. So they're crafty, they're changing that. So you could have something in assets and that's your security. And that would have been all right before, but it's all changing now. So they know what they're doing. And it seems more for affluent people that can come and live here. And obviously, I guess all countries are a bit, reluctant to like foreign people coming in and whatnot. But our culture is changing as well here. And since Brexit, and the truth is that Britain are quite racist in that way, because with Europeans, it was a lot of Polish people coming in, and Britain had a problem with that. But to look at people on the street, they look no different. And they did warn when Brexit happens that it's going to be, because we're going to then be on the outside of Europe. We're going to be like the rest of the world, which means it's going to be easier for other countries to come in. Exactly that is happening now. And now you can see different races coming into the country now. and they're just flooding. Where I live is like a white area, and that's changing. But what I don't understand is how they say because a lot of them are coming from Africa, and they must have a lot of money coming in because for them to live here, because we're struggling. So there must already be affluent coming in here. Then you've got the illegal, where they're coming in on the boats, and every quarter of the year, there's a record number of boats coming in illegally. We're paying God knows how much of the French authorities to deal with it. They're not, but it looks to me like a bit, well, you're not in EU anymore, and it seems like a Brexit issue, I think. And Brexit has made things a lot harder in the situation we're in now, because 10 years ago, if we'd have met 10 years ago, it would have been all right, because we had the UK citizens had the freedom to move to anywhere in Europe and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And it was basically how the UK works. Like, I can move to Scotland, no messing Wales, no messing Northern Ireland. We're all part of the UK. And you've got the freedom. Any one of us can all live in each other's country. Mm-hmm. No questions asked. You've got a right to. And even though we've still got that, but we're limited to that now. But the EU was also part of that, because it was... and now you've got the mainland of Europe that are just like the UK in that way. And basically that's what the EU is. It's basically European United Kingdom. Now we're just limited to our own United Kingdom with no freedom in that way. Yeah. But what dominated the votes was a lot of older people back then, because I've never seen, and it's 10 years next year, the Brexit vote, 2016, and I have never seen so many people like in groups just talking and, get these foreigners out and whatnot, and that it was based on a racial vote. It really was. And it gets me mad, because you've got political people playing with people's lives, all for their own careers. And the guy who did it at the time, the Prime Minister at the time, Cameron, did it for his own political career, because this other party was a threat. This other party now has reinvented themselves so many times that the same guy, Nigel Farage, is still threatening the current governments now, and they're always adapting to what he sets the agenda to, this Farage. Whatever he sets, it's never ending. Yeah. But he said Brexit will work, and it won't. It's all right for him. He was an MEP. He was a European politician. Yeah. It was all right for him, and he was happy to be a European politician because he got paid a lot more than what he would be in UK Parliament. Now that's gone. He's away from that. Oh, now he's happy to go. Now he's in the House of Commons, where he's happy to do that now, though. And also, we was at a pub a few weeks ago, and we got talking to a few people. Yep. And there was an older guy there, and we're talking to these younger people, and also they've been talking to him. And then they're talking to us, and they was like interested in our story, and we're talking about our situation, like long distance. We had a few weeks left and things, and they seemed happy with us, and they was generally like wanting to know like more and whatnot. And I didn't hear it, but you heard it, didn't you, in the background? And when he found out that you was a foreigner, and what did he say?
He said something along the lines of, "Good, let them stay where they belong. Keep them out."
And that's what I mean, like culturally, to look at you, you look like on the street like anyone else where we're from, and that's what I don't get. Where literally foreigners are just foreigners and they just can't handle it. Yeah. But one thing I do know about the British is now I think there's more of a problem now, because there was a warning that you're going to get more different races coming in. Yeah. After Brexit, and that is what's happening now, and that's where the racial thing going on again. They're just against foreigners and there he was, and he heard us what was on about how the struggles where it was. He already heard all that, and I remember that. And but this is what is making it hard now. The Brexit thing going on. Yeah. And it's just because people played politics with people, and that was it. And now we're struggling. And there was a percentage, I can't remember what it was, but because the older people dominated the Brexit vote, and that's what pushed it like over the mark, it was close to like 50-50. And I think there was like 1 million votes over, and that sounds like a lot, but for how many people voted, it was so narrow.
Yeah.
And I remember this percentage of the older generation that was for Brexit, and they said like there was like quite a huge percentage that would die before Brexit kicked in I think 2019 or 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
And the amount of them that would have passed away before they even see Brexit, and they're the people, and I always remember these are the people that are dictating younger people's lives.
Yeah.
And a lot of older people as well, and I've heard it myself, that they've gone travelling the world, lived their life, and I've heard it from the horse's mouth as well, that, oh yeah, why younger people why do they want to stay in the EU? Because all they're interested in is they want to travel. Uni students, that's all they want to travel. And it's like, but what's wrong with that? And it's almost like, exactly, you've had your life.
No.
You've done what you've done. And then when Brexit happens, they all stop travelling, the older people, all of a sudden then. Mm-hmm. And we shot ourselves in the foot. You know, we never used to get our passports stamped going to the EU, now I do. We shot ourselves in the foot because you come here and it don't get stamped.
Nope.
We've just shot ourselves, and there's so many advantages you've still got. Yeah. So all this where there was campaigning like, oh yeah, take control of our borders, it's not, because you've got so much freedom over me still that you can stay here longer. Yeah. So what was the point of Brexit in that way? There was no point to it. And why I'm saying about all this is because bear all this in mind with policies and all that, we shot ourselves in the foot. Mm-hmm. We are the ones, the English, UK people, are the ones who are limited. Now, yet the Europeans have got more flexibility coming over here still. Yep. And, all right, for us that's a good thing because I can get to see you more. But exactly, you can come here more than I can go over there. Yeah. I'm still limited. So we just shot ourselves in the foot with things. And all this is like suffering, because I do look back to before Brexit, mm-hmm. and we would have had that freedom. There was no problem, no limitations on our travelling. No. And I would have a right to live with you in the Netherlands, and the same right that you've got here.
Exactly.
And the trouble is back then, that was the problem with the British though. Back then, that there was a problem with you living here, like that guy that you heard the other night. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And that's where like a lot of it stems from.
Yeah.
So a little background there with the politics is basically all this gameplay and what they've done. And that's why it's like relevant, because that's how it's happened. It's all these people that have played, and it's us that are suffering now with it. Yep. They've all just had these games. And the sick thing about it was, Farage, the main campaigner with it, used the thing that we're proud of, our NHS, the free NHS that we've got, our health system. Mm-hmm. And Boris Johnson at the time, who became Prime Minister at one point, again, he was for the EU. And he thought clearly a long time about it, and then he decided, because he enters things and he likes to win. Yeah. So he realised that obviously the Brexit thing's going to win. So then one day he switched his own morals and went for the Brexit and went along with Nigel Farage. And they had this campaign bus saying, why we're spending 350 million a week to the EU when we could spend that on our NHS. And it's never happened. Now you're hearing people, I voted for this, the NHS is collapsing. I thought, well, and they're all saying, where's the money going then? No, because you was conned by it. It was a lie. But back then, it was no secret. The people were saying back then about the lies of this tour bus that had this thing going on it, the advertisement with it. And because of that, people voted and fell for it. And you've got to look at anything with you can't trust politicians with anything. And that's where we've suffered with that now. Yeah. But that 350 million, what people don't realise is, yeah, of course it's a lot of money, but it was an investment. What they don't tell you is you get, like, fivefold back. It was an investment. Yeah. They just have got this crafty way of isolating that money. 350 million is a lot. Yeah, well, you get fivefold back. Yeah. It was an investment. They don't say that, though. Mm-mm. And they pick and choose what they say. And all that politics is what is now making us struggle. And that's why that is all relevant, because They're all doing all political career games. We're now suffering. Real people are now suffering with it. Also, it's based on a racial vote. I don't care what anyone says. It was racial because we go out and vote on normal elections, and nobody's in groups talking. When it came to Brexit, there was people everywhere just talking in groups.
Yeah.
And you overheard them and all that, and there was all, get these foreigners out and all, let's stop this and stop that. Since then, the foreigners now, it's more mixed race than ever.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a racist way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it as fact.
Yeah.
That the British had a problem with white Polish people or white Europeans coming over. That was their problem. That's how racist they are. That it's just any foreigner they don't want in. So they're definitely, of course, going to have a problem when there's somebody of a different race to them.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to have a problem. So what is it now? And yet there was warnings of that. And all because of this, we're suffering with that. And it's an hard thing. And that's the political side of that. Why we're struggling with that now.
Yeah, and another part that we struggle on is like when it comes to the money, because there are so many thresholds that you need to meet, and we don't qualify for that because we're self-employed, we're small business, and you don't make an average wage. Like 1 month you can make more, and the next month you can make less.
Yeah, and again, what they're asking for in the wage now, where I live is a lot lower.
Yeah.
It's a lot lower to the average wage and stuff as well. So where we live as well, what they're asking for, we don't make that round here.
No.
Where I live, which is where you would live if you did move here.
Exactly. So all those things, it just doesn't make sense. And it is frustrating because you just feel like I just want to live my life with my partner and just get on with things and wake up next to my partner every morning. And it is absolutely soul-sucking when the governments are telling you, no, you can't because you don't meet this income threshold, or you can't because you're from that country. And it is a war against bureaucracy every single day. And even with the ETA, it said if you qualify for an ETA and you get it granted, doesn't necessarily mean you get access into the country. You can still get denied at the border. So me, of course, with my anxiety, I was super paranoid about that. Especially because I stay for longer periods of time, and you have to fill in if you have a job or not. Well, legally, I am unemployed because in the Netherlands, you're allowed to make €5,000 in total a year without having to report to tax. And then if you make over that, you have to report to tax. And I haven't qualified as a business yet because then you go through all the hassle and everything. So right now it's basically just my business is a hobby where I make a little bit of money from. But once it starts picking up momentum, then I'm gonna of course enlist myself as self-employed. But right now that's not the case yet. So officially I'm unemployed, and that scares me because they can see that because I had to fill it in for the ETA. So I was terrified that they'd question me at the border like, you're staying here for 5 weeks, but you're unemployed. How are you gonna finance that? And of course I can say, well, my fiancé, he helps me. He makes sure that we live. But it is just the anxiety that gets to you as well. And all you want to do is just be with your partner and just have a normal life in that way.
And that's why it's frustrating because, like, obviously we fly a lot. And when I come back to the airport nearby, like where I live, you see it in the passport check, border control, and you see every time I'm there, there's somebody foreign that can't speak English.
Yeah.
And they go to the border control, and it's a real quiet place. It's a real small airport where we're at, and it's like more like a library. It's so quiet.
Yeah.
It's nothing like an airport, like what people think. So you can hear every word that they're saying. And they're asking him, like, oh, what are you doing here? And they go, They just, like, grunt. And they talk for him.
Yeah.
At the passport control. And then they just give him this piece of paper. And then they look at it, and then obviously it must be on writing what they're doing. And they're like, oh, you're working on the ships. And they're just like, they can't even say what or pardon or...
Yes or no.
Oh, yes or no. Yeah, even yes or no. They can't even say yes or no. And they just let him through. And then there was one time, on one of the times I was travelling back, there was 3 of them in the queue from the plane that we was on.
Yeah.
Because it's a small airport, so at the time it's just all you on that plane that go through at the same time.
Yeah.
And you all just fit into this one room. That's how small the customs is there. And there was 3 of them there. And then there was one who he went before, and it was the same thing, and they just let him through. And then there was later on another guy who went through, and there was one behind him. And then same things again, like, wait, you're on the ships. And again, they just grunt. They can't say, I've noticed every one of them can't even say yes or no.
Yeah.
And then she was asking me these questions, and she went, well, where are you? Are you at this dock or that dock or this dock? Or... She was going like that, and he didn't understand. They just let him through. And then the guy straight after him walked through, and then she even said at one point to him, she went, are you like your friend? And again, he grunted. He just went, huh? Sort of thing. And she just let him through. She just gathered, because of the same documents, paperwork and this and that they give him.
Yeah.
Same thing. And it's like, how are they working here? That is where I don't understand it. I don't understand how they're working here. Clearly they're coming for working, because from what you gather what they're saying and things like that, and they're all working on the docks.
Yeah.
But how is this working? I don't get it. And that is a lot of things that I would love to tell the government that a lot of public won't realise what is going on. And because I travel a lot to see you, I'm seeing it. Normally, probably won't see it, but because I travel a lot and I go back to the airport, you see it every time you go into the border control. So you're seeing it more than average.
Yeah.
It's more like, because we travel that much, when we start knowing the staff now.
Yeah, exactly.
You're recognising them, that's how much we're there. But on the average flight, average person, you probably won't witness this. It's just because every so often you see these like things happening, because we're travelling a lot, and it's insane what's going on. Yeah. And again, I bet the British people would be mad about this, and this is happening after Brexit. What gets me mad is you was born Canadian, so your mother tongue is English.
Exactly.
I've got dyslexia, so you know more English than me, and the amount of times I've asked you what words mean, and you tell me. Yet you're going to have a test, and I think the tighten it up again.
Yeah, they have.
On that. But you're going to have to, by the sounds of it, actually do a course.
Yeah, I do.
You can't just, I mean, whoever you see, of course they're going to know you speak fluent English.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't understand, but by the sound of it, because I think they're tightening that up lately. It was already strict, but now they're really tightening up that you're going to have to do a course now, yeah. And to save time, why don't they just tick a box where, interviewed them, they're fluent?
Yeah.
Would make things easier. It's that process again that you're going to have to do a course and prove that you can talk English, which of course you're going to pass.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to pass, but it's just another time waste again. And because the way it works for you, because really you're Dutch, so they're going to get it and see it as like you're Dutch, so you're going to have to do this test as a Dutch person, not where you're actually born and where you're from. I mean, at one point in your life, you struggled when you went to Netherlands.
Yeah.
And there it was, because you're so fluent in English that you got down about talking Dutch. It was a struggle for you.
Yeah.
When you was learning it, when you was little.
Exactly.
Obviously now you're fluent with Dutch as well, but that's how English speaking you are. Yeah. And then you're going to have to get tested to come here to talk that, when there you was back learning then Dutch.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. And things are not as black and white as they seem. No. Why is everything so black and white? Everything's so, it's ridiculous in that way. They just judge you as like a pure foreigner that, they're just... And I don't think the governments have thought that through. What if people was born mother tongue English and went to another country? And it could be anywhere in the world. It could be some African country, but they could have been born anywhere English. Yeah. And then they come back and your mother tongue is your mother tongue. Yeah. And what we call mother tongue, that's it. You don't forget them things.
No. And what I want to add to that is when I was like 7, 8 years old, I wanted a dual passport because I take pride in the fact that I'm Canadian born. And my parents were like, yeah, we'll do it someday. And now it's illegal to have a dual passport in the Netherlands. So I am technically full Dutch, even though I'm Canadian born. And I don't like that, because I see myself as Canadian and not as Dutch. Yeah, I live in the Netherlands, I've been Dutch raised, so a part of me is that, but I see myself more as Canadian because that's where I'm from. That's where I was supposed to live. And if dual passports were still a thing in the Netherlands, then that would have meant that I would have not have to take that course. I would not have to take a test because I have a Canadian passport.
Which also is Commonwealth, kind of do with the UK.
I was just going to say, the Commonwealth, so it would have been easier to move over to England as well. That would have been less of a hassle, because Commonwealth. And that's where I'm angry at the Dutch government as well, because they took that right away from me.
Also, Canada, which I learned something new, because I thought Britain was that right of birth. The country that you're born is the country that you are.
Mm-hmm.
I learned something new in all of this, because I thought UK was about that. No, it's if you've got like a parent or two parents that are born British, that you're automatically British, sorry. The thing with Canada, it's different. They've actually got the birthright, and it's I think Canada and America and South America and stuff. It's the American countries, and that all have that birthright, and they're the only part of the world that really have. And it's such a small minority that where you're born is what you are. And Canada is one of them countries. It's a birthright country.
Yeah.
So it's so sad that you was born in a birthright country, which is so rare.
Yeah.
Which, like I say, I thought England, UK was about that, and it's not. A lot of us think it is, and I think people will be surprised from the UK to hear that. But that's where Canada is even more, travelling that way, was born there than us in that way. So it's sad to hear that you're stripped to that in that way, that you're born in a birthright country but because of the Dutch rulings, the way they work, they strip you of that right.
Exactly.
So a birthright country is not really a birthright country, because it depends on where your parents come from as well.
Yeah.
And how controlling their governments are in that way. Which is a sad thing, because you haven't got that right anymore.
Oh.
Which would make it easier for us right now, because there was a point where we looked into it and you was on about, should I get a dual passport?
Yeah.
To make it easier with the Commonwealth as well.
Exactly. Then I learned that dual passports are no longer a thing in the Netherlands. That's illegal now. So they take you as full Dutch, which I don't agree with. Because I'm Canadian born. So I want to be Canadian because that's where I'm from. But because of the Dutch rulings, I'm full Dutch. And it's the same with... Our system is so oppressive when it comes to passports and identity.
Because we're brought up as like, where you're born is what you are.
Yeah.
And it's shocking that actually the world doesn't work like that.
No.
I thought the world is... And actually it's just the Americans, all the American countries, continents that are actually birthright.
Yeah.
You think the world works like that, it doesn't.
No.
But it's a tricky thing, again, you've got to research everything. Things aren't simple. So where our kids are born, again, it's that laws are complex. We have to look into it to see what actual nationality are they.
Yeah.
But the way the Dutch control things, are they going to be Dutch or what? We don't know ourselves.
No, exactly. And all of this is relevant to a long distance relationship, because these are all things you need to take into consideration. And it is so bizarre because, a little bit of backstory here. My granddad from my mom's side was German. He was 14 years old when the war started, and his dad got a job in the Netherlands, and they left for the Netherlands. But of course they faced a lot of criticism there because they were German. And then my grandma was also 14 when the war started. And it is bizarre to realize that my granddad, he moved to the Netherlands, and my grandparents would have never met if my great-granddad never got that job offer. And that is such a rare thing to meet. And then from my dad's side, my family is actually Scottish. Their official name was Muktou, and they left for the Netherlands. and then they changed the last name to Tom because it's easier. So, again, how that works is just so bizarre, like the chances of meeting. And I relate that to our story, that I posted that doll photo, you were looking for doll inspiration on Instagram for your artwork, and that's how we met. So my point is that finding the right person is not someone you're usually gonna find on the doorstep. It's rare to find that. And I know from my dad's side, that's a horrible story, and I'm not gonna go there, but from my mom's side, my mom and my mom's parents, my grandparents, were so close. They were so in love. And I didn't hear this story until my grandmother passed, which was in 2021. She was 96 years old. We were at one of my auntie's place, my auntie, and we were talking to this funeral director. And she asked about stories and about my granddad. And then one of my aunties said, yeah, when their dad was dying, he had an oxygen mask, and he took it off. He grabbed my grandma's hand, he looked at her, he said, "I'm so sorry, I love you, Mine." And he passed away after that. His last words were literally, "I love you, Mine." And that is something out of a film. And that's where you know that they were destined to be together. And my point with that is that the person is not going to be someone on the doorstep, your soulmate. And the way they met is impossible because he should have been living in Germany. So I take great pride in the fact that my fiance is the love of my life, is my soulmate, and is my best friend, and a person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And yeah, it is sad, of course, that we are long distance and that we don't have the rights as any other couple when they live in the same country, and that hurts. But let me tell you something. I will travel for as long as we need to do it, because it is worth it. It is more than worth it. When you find your person, everything just clicks. You don't have a void. You have happiness. You have this connection with this other human being that you thought was not even possible. We have such a deep connection and such a deep level of trust and love that I didn't even know was possible, to be fair. Because my parents' marriage was a failed one. My dad had his issues. He was not well. He was mentally unstable. And he was, to say it in the most friendly way, not a nice man. And my mom wanted to divorce him at some point. That went horribly wrong and resulted in my dad's suicide. That's how you see how manipulative he was. Because in his letter, he blamed my mother for it. And that's where you know that they were not the right people for each other. I have found my person. I have found the love of my life. And being long distance is really difficult because you crave each other all the time and you can't be there all the time. Because there's restrictions from the government with traveling, with living together, with marriage, with having kids, everything. Everything is complex. But it is worth it. It's more than worth it. Because your right person, your right soulmate, the love of your life is not going to be someone that lives next door to you. I mean, okay, that could happen, but that is extremely rare. That's even more rare than the chances of us meeting. When you find that, you found your answers. I know it sounds cliche, but it's cliche for a reason.
But what's scary as well is, like, if we'd have been, like, 15, 20 years earlier,
yeah,
the age we are right now, we are, if we was born that bit earlier, that's scary, and it frightens us sometimes that we wouldn't have met. It was social media, but it, not only social media, it also took that post. That's what really did it.
Yeah.
It was that point that I was doing something on my work and you were doing something in your spare time that you posted, and that's how we met. And it was just from an hashtag. That's how we met.
Yeah.
And it's so scary when you think about it, but that's the truth. And the thing is, it's no different to how people used to meet back in, like, they go to a bar and it's just that chances of, like, the same two people, the two people going to the same bar, or... But how many people that it could have happened and one night they're like, oh, I don't want to go out. Who knows? They could have met somebody that night. And that's just on the doorstep. The fascinating thing is we've got this world now where we've got more chance, I think, of finding your soulmate because the world is so open.
Yeah.
But people are not open to long distance. If people can maybe just accept that long distance maybe is that the answer to actually finding your true love, because I would not change it for the world.
No.
Because I never found somebody on the doorstep myself, so why is it that I found somebody, and I've always had that mindset of the best of friends could be out there somewhere, or a relationship, and it fascinates me. I'm just into that, just meeting other people from different worlds, as long as you connect. From where I'm from, I've never found people with that art connection alone to have friends as artists, because we're not on art culture where I'm from. Now, Berlin, where we're visited, there's more chance of me finding a friend there, I tell you now, because they're so artsy there. And that's what I mean, somebody's not on the doorstep. So I know for a fact there's more chance of me having an art friend there than somewhere here. But that's the thing with it all. And again, also to go back to that where you was on about you've got Scottish in your blood.
Yeah.
And when you think about this whole, foreigner thing, when he mumbled that time at that pub that was out, and he was like, treating you like a foreigner, yet you've got Scottish in your blood. So this is the thing about Britain is, and we have this show again, it's relevant again because we've got this these celebrities, and they do the ancestry test.
Oh yeah.
And you found with every one of them, there's a pattern that were about 1% or 2% or 3%, something like that, Norwegian or Scandinavian. Yeah, there's always that 1 to like 3% or 5% or something real low like that. Yeah. Always Scandinavian. And some might have 1% of it, some might have 5%, but it's always in that region of percentage.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the other countries, but they're a mix of God knows what. But then Irish is probably something like 30% or something, which is like, you'd expect, or Scottish or things like that. But there's always, what struck me is the Norwegian thing or the Scandinavian thing is, it's always that little small 5% something in it. And that's what I mean. So when you've got people like him mumbling, foreigners, and yet you've got Scottish in your blood yourself. So are you really a foreigner in that way? It's just family choices and how you've met and who you are. And that's it. That's all it is. And it's just sad that people think like that.
Yeah.
And then to come on to the old, how we've met, I won't change it for the world. And it's just impossible. And we've even said that question ourselves, that what if your family decided to carry on living in Canada? Would that post have happened still?
Wouldn't know.
And when you think about it, like, what would have led you, and would it have happened? And it's just impossible when you think about it. It's literally the time and how we met.
Yeah.
And it's the equivalent of like the old days of two people deciding to go to a bar that night.
Yeah.
But it's more impossible how we met because it's just global.
Exactly.
And there's how many hashtags going on, and it was literally in the timing. We posted the same thing at the same time. Yeah. And that's how we met on the hashtag. But so many hashtags are going on at that point, and I think the hashtag was something to do with the doll makeup thing. That's what that was.
Yeah.
That's where I found you. And it was such a brief time that I was working on that point as well. And I remember when I posted it thinking like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? Because I was like an introvert that I am. Yeah. Do I, don't I? And I decided to do it. And I think what else was unusual as well, because I usually posted things on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I think this one time it was in an afternoon, what I remember.
Yeah.
That's something I've just realised now doing this podcast, that it was one time I've never really thought about that. I went against what I usually, the usual time that I posted.
Yeah.
So that, when you think about it, that's what else makes it even more special.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't change it for the world. And you always get that, like, your friend that time and stuff, where you used to work, and you always get that, oh yeah, if it works for you sort of thing, attitude all the time. But I won't change it, and it's hard, and it's a struggle. And anybody out there in long distance, you've got to remember, you've more chance of finding your soulmate. I don't care what anyone says. The world's massive.
Yeah.
And I think you're more limited into finding somebody more local.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're really going to get your soulmate in where I'm from, a city of like 250,000 people.
Yeah.
But you narrow that down into what applies to me. How many? I don't know. I just know 250,000 live here, but how many of them are females, and how many of them are females in that age bracket that I can date?
Yeah.
So that narrows down again. So it's not 250,000 people really.
Yeah.
So when you research that, it's so limited. So if I do research that and I do find out the figures where I live and the age group, that narrows it down to that.
Exactly.
And that's where the world, I think, is just more open with things. But I don't think people are willing to do that. They're rather, and I'm more fascinated with, like, there's somebody out there, surely, and it's not on the doorstep. And I've just always been that sort of person, and it's strange how it's happened to me. I found somebody out there, and I always knew it. People limited themselves in that way because a lot of people, like, just won't even enter any. There's just no chance of long distance. It's just not on the agenda at all with them. They're not open to it. But is that where they're settling for, like, second best without realising that? And yet you maybe think you found somebody, but have you? Because the connection that we've got and the distance we've got is just, we just know now that if we'd have met somebody on the doorstep, they would have been second, because you don't get this.
No.
It's out there. And I tell you now, with anybody in the world, there is somebody out there, but they're not on the doorstep.
Yeah.
I think you've got to go out looking in that way, and it's just obviously the chances, coincidence, everything, but
Yeah.
I think it does boil down to that, really.
What I want to add is, like, I never had a relationship before, and I'm not ashamed of that. Like, I was 26 when we got together. I was turning 27 that year.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of that. I never had a relationship before, so this is my first relationship, and I'm proud of that. That reaches my first and my last. And I am just so happy that I get to share all my firsts with the love of my life, because who gets to say that? Scientists say after 2 years you fall out of love. Well, we've been together for 2.5 years now, and
We're falling more deeper.
I was gonna say, every day I fall deeper and deeper in love with him. And
it's not that unconditional love that it changes to, that they say, and
no.
it's still so fresh. It's that still fresh feeling that they say that you outgrow apparently now.
Because everyone's like, you have that honeymoon phase and then you outgrow that, but every day is our honeymoon phase. And we're also the people who don't take things for granted. And I think that adds to it, because we don't take our relationship for granted. We don't take the time we have together for granted, because our time is limited every trip. And that's where I know that we will always be grateful for each other, because I am grateful, because I'm just going to say this right here. Back in 2021, I fell into a deep depression, and I have recurring depressive disorder, mild to severe, and that was the worst I've gotten. I was in and out of crisis team meetings, put on sedatives, emergency tablets, everything. Because I was so close to ending my life. And I carried on to 2022, and I was hospitalized for in a mental health clinic for 3 or 4 months. And that was in the time we met. But I remember when I was in the in the clinic, I had like, we call it a partial stay. You go there during the day, but at the night you sleep in your own bed, and then the next day you go back. But I was looking forward to the nights, because we would quite often video call on the nights, like once, twice a week. And I was always looking forward to that. And that's where I knew that something in me was like picking up more. Because from the moment I met Rich, I was in love. And I never had that feeling before. And that's where I know love at first sight does exist as well. When we got to know each other better and better, and we did video calls when I was at the clinic, I started feeling myself picking up more. I started feeling more human again. And then eventually we just got closer and closer. Until January 2023, we got together. On precisely the same day we met.
Mm.
And
we didn't know.
No, we didn't know.
Onto the calendar.
Yeah. How bizarre is that? And Rich saved me from myself. And I know it sounds cliche, I know it sounds a bit like, oh yeah, really? No, really. The whole love yourself and then you can love someone else thing is absolute, it's nonsense.
Mm.
Because sometimes meeting someone, I'm not saying that fixes all your problems, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you find the right person, they can help you learn to love yourself and accept yourself. They can show you what a beautiful person you really are, and
it's the right person.
Exactly, it's the right person.
I think it's so hard to find. That's why I think that's where that comes from. Love yourself, because the chances are it's slim.
Yeah.
In that way, but we've just never give up.
No.
That's how we met in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
It's okay, don't worry. No, it's and that's where like I'm still learning to love myself, but I have accepted myself, and that's the first step towards self-love. And I'm not depressed anymore. Like, okay, I'm on tablets and I take away depression, but that don't give you happiness. Rich has given me happiness, something I thought I could never achieve. I seriously thought I was doomed to live a life of sadness. I thought I was doomed to die before I was 30, and now this year I'm turning 30, and that's such a huge milestone, and I'm excited for it. I'm buzzing that I'm turning 30 this year. And I never thought I'd make it that far in life. And to do it with a soulmate, who is my best friend, who is my business partner, my little everything, is magical. And I wouldn't change anything for the world. We've had our struggles in the beginning of our relationship, because you go through teething problems, you're still getting to know each other, and that's normal. But you know you found the right person to marry when you overcome all the struggles, and you're still so deeply in love, and still have that connection that's so deep that you know I cannot live without this person. That's when you know you found the right person to marry. And that's where it goes for us, that we are so deeply in love, and every day we fall deeper and deeper in love, and we got that strong connection that we can laugh about anything. We even have our own language.
Yeah.
That we can be silly together, we can laugh, we can cry, we can be authentically ourselves. Like the way I am with Rich is how I am on my own.
We can be so childish and prank style as well.
Yeah.
It's childish, and yet we can also be philosophical with things. And
exactly.
well, from my end, like on that, but like, just we can have them discussions, and we can be so serious on things and topics, and yet at the same time so childish and silly. And also, we also found about a lot of people is like when you see on TV shows and stuff like that, we've seen people like acting childish, but the way people treat them as if like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Get a grip, grow up. You're a grown up, and we don't understand that. Like we can be serious when we need to be, and childish when we need to be as well. And but that's it. It's just or other couples might be different. There might be somebody out there who's serious, don't do childishness. Well, the right person for them would be that then. Everyone's different, but
exactly.
If you've got two serious people in that way that gel together and they've got that ultimate bond and fun, that's what mixes them.
Yeah.
Of course, somebody childish for them ain't going to suit them, but everybody's different. It's just whoever you are, there's definitely a clone of you that's what it feels like, a clone. It's like you're a female version of who I am in that way.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We just gel, and I think that is when you know that you've met the right person. When you've got that clone, that there's always like they're saying, I think psychology, that there's three selves. Well, of course, we've all got that show to the world, and people have this false fake face sort of thing. We all do whatever to impress, and then the middle one I can't remember, but the third one is, who are you on your own?
Yeah.
And I think that is when you met somebody, because I can be who I am on my own with you.
Same here.
And that is where a lot of people like talk to themselves, but they won't dare admit it to anyone. The feeling, I think, when you've met somebody that is at your level and wavelength, is that feeling of you don't ever have to talk to yourself because you've met the person. And they are that equivalent of talking to yourself. Yeah. And it's that and the third self is the true self. Like psychology, what I read it somewhere before, that we all have these masks, but we have two masks, and the one is that when we're on our own, that is who we truly are. Yeah. And that is when you've met somebody, I think.
No, exactly. That's exactly true. And seriously, if it's long distance and you find that in someone, don't let it go. And don't listen to other people like, oh yeah, but wouldn't it be easier? Just met someone on the doorstep, and isn't it like difficult? Don't listen to that.
No.
Listen to your feelings. Listen to what you know and feel is right. Because seriously, what we have is unique and is rare. And if you know you have that with someone, and it's long distance, don't give up on it.
And we're not saying this to be smug married sort of thing.
No, definitely not.
We're not bragging about it. It's that we've been in the darker places where if somebody's listening to this and they've no hope and it's so lonely. Yeah. And even though I'm an introvert, and I was at that point where I was doing my art, and I just give up with people. Yeah. And it wasn't that love yourself sort of thing. It was just I just worked on my art, and that was it. And I just thought, right, nobody's out there for me. That's what made it special when I did meet you, because that was the thing. When I met you, I was on an absolute low. You get a lot of people, it's the other way. It's more, they're dating and they're seeing somebody, or they're sleeping around and they're dating multiple people, and that's how it works. And then they go and pick somebody out of that, or the multiple, like, dating. Well, I'm not about that. No. And if anyone's listening to this and they feel stuck and in a trap, just do what you do. Mm-hmm. You probably might find somebody from that, what you're doing. Yeah. And if somebody's into, I don't know, like, similar to us, like art or whatever, you don't know, put your art out there. You might meet somebody on an exhibition. Just don't be desperate. It's just going to connect. You can't, it's just going to happen. Yeah. Never be desperate, because like a lot of people do all that, and you should never ever chase. And you always hear these dating things that you always hear about where, oh yeah, play hard to get. Don't listen to that. Is toxic poison, and they want your money. Yeah. That is toxic. If somebody's out there, somebody's out there. Exactly. The trouble is, a lot of people work like that. They all play hard to get, and that's the thing. It's like, because there's so many people out there that play hard to get, that you've got to play the game and break them that play hard to get or whatever, and that's where they all make the money on that, because so many people are the same thing. No, don't fall for that trap. No. Fall for somebody that is on your core level, and that's it. It's scary, and that's why we're not saying this in a bragging way or anything. It's just more, if people can, like, and that's what I'm against all that. Yeah. Is play hard to get. You should never play hard to get. If you're into somebody, you're into somebody. Yeah. And in 2017, I was doing jury service, and it relates to this, where there was two girls there, and one of them went out on the weekend, and to me, it was all new to me, because I don't know, I'm old fashioned. I don't know, but and they was talking about one of them had gone out on a night out, and she met this lad, and she said she really fancied him. He really liked her, and they got chatting, and they just gelled. They didn't stop talking, And then at the end of the night, he asked for a number. And with that, the other one went, no, you don't do that. And she went, I know. And she went, with that, she went, I was gone.
No.
Oh, because he asked for the number. Well, so what was she out for a night out then? Was she just literally just out to have a laugh or free drinks? I don't know.
Yeah.
But what was she out for? Because she joked with somebody, she admitted she liked him. You're hearing this deep conversation with him.
No.
And I don't get people like that. And again, it's the old hard to get thing again. And just don't play with that. If it just happens, it happens.
Exactly.
And if you've got to chase people, then no,
it's not right.
It's not right. You don't chase anyone.
No.
And a lot of them relationships where, of course, they chase and they get together. Of course, they get together, but they don't really last. I've noticed.
True, because they don't really gel. There's a distance between them.
And there's some trust issues going on. I don't know with people. I don't know, but all I can say is I don't know. I think true feelings is just don't be scared of emotions and just go with it. And if you're emotional and you're attached and you like them, pull away from them if they're not interested or they're playing hard to get.
Yeah.
Because they should give the same back.
Exactly.
And you gel, of course you do. But where are you ever gonna? Where are you ever gonna get when you play hard to get?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is people are getting greedy. They play hard to get because they keep the options open.
Yeah.
So like that girl that I was on about just there with the jury service, is she looking for somebody even better or this and that? And I think people are just obsessed with, especially with dating sites, it's all just swipe this or swipe that.
Yeah.
It's just options. And it starts getting, it's like a bandit machine.
Yeah.
It becomes like that. It's like, I swipe because I'm going to gamble. I really like them. And that's why I think dating apps are poison, because it's gambling.
Yeah.
It's, do I swipe them? Oh, yeah, because there could be somebody better. But they continually swipe and swipe and swipe.
Yeah.
And they're like a bad boy or this and that, or, and it's just where you're going with it.
Exactly.
And if you're a girl out there and you're like a bad boy, you can't change him.
Nope.
You can't change him.
Nope.
You never will.
And I want to say something that I've done for my fiance. This trip, we had 5 weeks in the Netherlands and 5.5 or 6 weeks in the UK. And I'm a hopeless romantic. I went to the airport and I made a little sign that said Furby, because I call my fiance Furby. Little backstory on that. One time he came into my bedroom in the Netherlands and he had his hair stuck up and he made a Furby sound. And I was absolutely just in stitches. I was laughing so hard, and that's where his nickname Furby comes from. So I made a little sign that said Furby and I bought an artificial rose. And I stood there at the airport waiting for him to arrive. And it was this giant group of tourists that were just looking at me and pointing at me and going like, oh. They were so fascinated. And there was also a few people who wanted to sit like near me, but then they saw what I was doing. Then they went like, oh no, let's leave her alone. Something's gonna happen. So this is a big moment. So they would like stay away from me and gave me space. And I also make a lot of handmade gifts for my fiance. Like I recently made a little radio with little love songs in it, and I made like little dinosaur chicken nuggets with sweet messages and all sorts of things like that. I just love doing that because gift giving is one of my love languages. And it doesn't matter if it's a gift that I make or buy. I just want to express my love in that way, as well as saying I love you a lot and hugs and stuff. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I never knew that I had this in me. I thought I was quite cold and bitter. And it wasn't until I met Rich that I noticed that actually I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm warm, I'm fuzzy. I'm loving, I'm caring. I'm not cold and bitter like I thought I was. And it took the right person to bring it out in me. And now I absolutely adore doing all these cheesy things. like, people might be listening to this and feel like, oh no, that's bad. But I don't care. It makes us happy. And if you're like that type of person and you love gift giving and making things for your partner, and your partner's a bit like, oh, that's a bit much, then again, not the right person for you. Because you need to be able to express yourself and your love in any way that you feel is right. And if your partner has a problem with that, then it's not the right person for you.
Were you saying that about, like, you're bitter, you thought you was bitter that time when we met early on, and I saw that tweet, which is now X, and on Valentine's Day that you posted that time, and all it was F the world, F you, and F you. All this, like, swearing to the world on Valentine's Day, and I hope you're all effing happy. But how bitter you was then with that.
Yeah.
And the difference was with that, because, again, you was this angry person, but it never put me off on you and on all that. And, again, you was having help at the time when we met.
Yeah.
You was in hospital at the time and things, and like, again, the right person won't be the right person, because normally I think the average person would have done a runner.
Yeah.
That's what makes things special. Everybody else would have done a runner.
Yeah.
And that's when you know it's the right person.
Yeah.
It never put me off or anything. And that, if anything, I just love that tweet that I read that time, because it's so opposite to, like, what you showed to me as well.
Yeah.
And it shows how, like, far you've come and changed. But there was some anger that time with that Valentine's message. And there was your message to the world. And then, but I was also the same. And at one time I was against marriage, each of us as well. And again, Valentine's Day, I always felt it like the commercial thing, which I know it is.
Yeah.
But we do it a different thing, because, again, we've got, like, a different Valentine's Day, again, which a reason for and stuff like that, because we couldn't quite make things at the time.
Yeah.
Because something came up on my end, but we don't do Valentine's Day commercially. We do it of course, it's the day of love, so when you're so in love, you do celebrate it. And I've never thought of that before. Whereas a lot of people just seem to, from my experience of, like, people that I know in relationships, seem to, just do it for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Whereas your gift giving never ends, and you're always doing things. And you always hear about this, where men buy flowers because they've done something wrong. They've done something wrong. They don't just buy flowers, they've done something wrong, and you get them things all the time.
Yeah.
And whereas it's all the time with that. And you're so creative. Like, when you're gift giving as well, it's so thoughtful what you do. But on top of that, it's not just my love, but, like, what you've done for my grandma and my sister. And it's so sad that my sister's no longer speaking to us now, but you've done things for her as well.
Yeah.
But it's who you are in that course. So, of course, when you've got the right person, but you've always done that with your friends before you've met love. So, of course, that's why you do it with my family as well, because it's just in your core. So, of course, when you do meet somebody and you match with somebody, of course, you're going to be that gift giver again, the way who you are. But that's how you know you've met somebody. I compare that to that Valentine's message, where it's just F you to the world.
Yeah.
So different person. But yet your friends that have always been there for all them times, which you had friends back then, you were so loyal to, because that's it, you're loyal. Yeah. But to you, your friendships was worth more than a relationship or a guy, because in your eyes, I don't like all men were the same sort of thing, which it's hard, yeah. But a lot of women on my end are the same as well. It's that they can be bitches and just people, and that all I can say on that is, despite the sex of the person, people are people.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so hard. And I think when you're an introvert and who we are, it just makes it really dark and all you're going to meet.
Yeah.
Especially when you start hearing of these hidden social rules that you've got to do, and you've got to chase people, and I can be doing without that.
Exactly. And yeah, I also want to say that just take it from us. We know what it's like to be in a long distance relationship and with the struggles that come with it, and how amazing it is at the same time. So just take it from us and enjoy your relationship and be you with the right person. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to follow us on socials, it's Art by Darkling and Mrs. Darkling Art on Instagram, and the same handles for our Weebly site. Hopefully get to have you in the next podcast again. Thank you.